You're listening to the Ask Drone U podcast. You ask, we answer your drone questions. Whether you're here to turn your passion into profit or you simply fly for fun, we're a community of learners and teachers who aspire to achieve greatness. We are
Drone U.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another interesting episode of Ask Drone U. We're here because we love to help you gain the most confidence and knowledge in flying some drones. I don't know what Rob's doing in my chair here. A little weird. I look tall and powerful, Rob, okay?
I look short and weak.
All right. It's not the size, it's how you use it. And that's going to be our first bombshell of the day.
You talking about Jeep tires?
I actually
Because that's true. That's a really good point, because you could have smaller tires but still be very technically sound in your rock climbing.
And be very...
You don't have to have 44s.
Tight. Yes,
you could have
nice
33s.
Tight ride.
And do some amazing things.
Oh, my chair
as
just went
long
down
as you
like 2
have the
inches.
appropriate clearance.
Clearance does matter, and that's why I'm not buying a new Suburban or Tahoe, because they reduce the clearance 4 inches. Anyway, let's talk about
And because
drones.
they're 150,000. No, I don't know if they're that much, but they're a lot. Anyways, we are totally rambling, and I know you people don't like that.
Nope, let's get right to the point. Today's show, we are going to be talking about how AI is going to impact the drone mapping, photogrammetry world. We already have a couple examples of this, and we've been trying some of these softwares out. There's some new ones here that I'm excited about myself. We've even been teaching these in our new mapping class. So before we get to the question, really quick, we've got a couple of flight masteries coming up, in-person drone training here in Colorado, also in New York. That's right, New York, the Empire State. If you are looking to gain confidence, you want to know the systems of takeoff, systems of landing, how to avoid emergencies, you want to be able to have the confidence to fly in close proximity, to get the shots that most drone pilots can't, to fly low, to fly close, to fly smooth. And you do not want to miss flying the Drone U obstacle course at Flight Mastery. Check it out. Go to thedroneu.com and scroll down to events, and you'll see that we have flight masteries in August and September coming up. In addition, we have our Drone U mapping class. It's a 3-day long course focused on Pix 4D. We go over drone deploy as well. We've also been going over some additional softwares like React, Lumalabs, and some others. So join us for that if you want to master the technical knowledge to be able to produce maps and models across any industry vertical in the drone space. thedroneu.com.
Hello, Rob and Paul. This is Gabe from Hawaii. First off, I want to tell you guys thank you so much for doing what you do with Drone U and helping budding drone entrepreneurs like myself become successful. I've been a member for quite a few months now, and it has been one of the best investments I've made in my entrepreneurial journey. So once again, thank you guys for that. Onward with the question. Okay, so you guys have talked about AI in the past, and it has been quite a hot topic recently. I wanted to pick your guys' brain and thoughts on where you think AI and the drone industry is going from here. I know it's already being used for, data processing, mapping, point clouds, and what have you. But I'm curious on the commercial side as well as the end user side, if you're going to see AI more and more, what could we be expecting in the next, 5 to 10 years with AI, positive or negative? Love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys again, and keep up the good work. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you, Gabe. Really, really appreciate the kind words. Appreciate you being a part of the community. And I know that I know you tend to join us for the coaching calls as well. It's always awesome to see you and to get your feedback. Man, we got to come visit Mr. Gabe, the Hawaiian.
Oh, he's in such a cool spot, man.
Yeah.
And there's, everyone thinks Hawaii is just like natural paradise, but you actually have some very diverse terrain across the islands. New Mexico says they have the second largest Grand Canyon. That's actually not true. It's Waimea Canyon that's on the island of Kauai.
So it's the third?
I guess so, yeah. So, but that's not important. What's important is that the diverse terrain and lots of opportunities to get cool footage. So
let's go check it out.
Yeah, that said, Gabe, thank you again for joining us in those coaching calls. Those coaching calls are free to members right now. It's once a month. We're going to be launching kind of a Drone U assisted membership program where we're going to be doing coaching calls on a weekly basis. It's been going really well so far with the monthly calls.
We enjoy it.
Yeah, and we're seeing results, and it's helping us too, not helping us financially, but helping us productivity wise. So I say that because when I give students challenges, I go out and do the challenges myself to hold everyone accountable. I mean, that's honestly what creates success. When you're an entrepreneur, you're by yourself, you don't have a lot of social interaction. These coaching calls really help people. And I'm just grateful to see an impact with people like Gabe. So Gabe, thank you so much. Even yesterday when we saw you on the call. Now that said, AI, drone mapping, photogrammetry. Do you remember the video animation tool, Rob, Pix4D? We go over it in exercise 2.
I do remember. It's very cool.
Which, by the way, we are successful in so far changing and updating many of the exercises. So our next mapping class, we are going to have brand new exercises. There's going to be a difference between in-person exercises and online exercises. But that said, video animation tool. This is something that recently we added a new course to our advanced mapping resources, again, free to members, on how to create point cloud hyperlapses. Because with point cloud hyperlapses, you can control the video animation in any perspective, any direction, but showcase a change over time, which is really valuable to certain construction companies, engineers, marketers as a whole, and companies that want new jobs from cities, municipalities, and states, and they can showcase their progression over time in a visually appealing way. That hyperlapse functionality circles around the video animation tool. Where have we seen AI implemented on a video animation tool basis? Lumalabs.ai. You've seen those Lumalabs videos, and even Jason Flakes, the Drone U instructor, he's on the front page of Lumalabs with a model that he did of the Drone U experience training, which, quick shout out, we are launching that the next experience training here this week, experience.thedroneu.com, only 7 seats available. We haven't even launched it and there's tickets sold. So that said, Lumalabs.ai essentially allows you to stick an orbit into their software. You don't need a computer to process this stuff, and it's going to give you a really visually appealing video animation. It's honestly something that I think is really, really cool because it also includes the background of the site or the environment, whereas most maps and models, if they can't accurately stitch that environment, they don't include it. So you get a really a nicer looking video animation. You don't have to process it. What I love too is that many of these photogrammetric engines based off of AI are proving something, Rob. They're proving that the rules of acquisition still matter. They're proving that the rules of the workflow that we teach still matters, because literally, I've been throwing a lot of different acquisition strategies into Lumalabs.ai, and still that multi-level orbit that we teach for the acquisition portion of the drone mapping class still yields superior results to other types of acquisition strategies. And you know, we're seeing Apple developing their motion engine, and it's actually open source. You can even plug into it. I was thinking about trying to create our own mapping software through that because we're already Apple developers here at Drone U with things that we've done with our app and whatnot. And so it opens up a whole new level of opportunity to do cloud-based processing through Apple's photogrammetric software. It's not the best. It's really not the best. You still can't control a lot of these cloud softwares, a lot of these AI softwares, but there are newer AI softwares. I'm not going to say the name of this one because I'm still investigating it, and I want to keep it close to the vest because I actually think that they may blow everyone out of the water. But there is a new photogrammetric AI that focuses specifically on utility inspections. And the meshes, the 3D models, they look superior to Bentley and Optelos. They look that nice. And I know in the past, Drone Deploy had about 4 to 5 different photogrammetric engines that they were trying to use machine learning to process certain 3D model-based deliverables in different engines to learn which engine is the best. But again, you still can't control acquisition strategy. We learned, you know, for a while, I was like, yeah, you can create a pretty decent 3D model with Drone Deploy. And that's true with basic acquisition strategies. Anytime that you have a significant deviation in tilt angle though on your camera on your drone, Drone Deploy still is not that good to produce complex 3D models. Anything that requires free flights, anything that requires orbits plus, say, a double grid, those types of acquisition strategies, again, included in the acquisition guide during mapping class. So Drone Deploy was trying for a very long time to do something similar. I don't think has yielded, well, I think the proof is in the pudding. I don't think has yielded super successful results, whereas this new software, I think, has leapfrogged Drone Deploy. And again, I'm not going to say the name of it because it's something that I'm considering doing an entire new class on because I think it's that good. And since we have so many props clients that are power utilities, this is something that I think could... I hate the word game changer because I don't think it ever succinctly sums up the actual brevity of an impact on an industry. But this new software, I think, would be a total disruptor because the quality is Bentley-like and the price point is like the price point of Pix40 React. We're talking like
holy shamoly.
Yeah, we're talking $50
That's
a
saying
month.
Something.
Not $12,000, not $25,000, not $30,000, not $8,000. We're talking $50 to $100 a month.
Man, it being in the SaaS world has got to be so challenging keeping up because it's happening so fast, and the costs associated with developing these softwares and these technologies is pretty significant because you're generally dealing with very high paid developers and programmers and so forth. Man, you got to be really good at doing it fast, bringing it to market quick, trying to make your money back. It's almost like pharmaceuticals nowadays, creating these things. It's really interesting. One of the things I wonder about is, so what we're kind of talking about is, I guess, using AI and machine learning and so forth to, I suppose, relatively quickly, effectively, efficiently create models of something that exists, right?
Yeah, recreating the environments of the world in a digital space.
But what about taking the technology and using it to kind of look into the future of, say, a given grid component and using that machine learning to say, okay, it's not to go into Minority Report world, but using the machine learning and the AI to, well, like I said, look into the future. Take one of our utility clients and they can look at a transponder. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Well, let's just say transponder. And using AI, it can start to predict more effectively what's going to happen and when. We seeing?
You mean like a transformer where you're seeing like a power load on like a hot summer day and you're trying to see like
any of that
can
stuff.
The amperage be handled and whatnot?
Or X amount of days or years in X amount of sun with X amount of weather or Y amount of weather. And can AI take all of this through its machine learning and start to predict things more accurately? And are we seeing anything like that?
First of all, that's a brilliant idea. I mean, you look at
I'm sure people are working on it.
Well, you look at how the energy infrastructure needs to be built up to support even the current amount of electric vehicles, which I'm not a big fan of electric vehicles. I'll just be very, very honest with people. I think it's kind of, I love Tesla. I love what Elon is doing. Love the mission. Don't think it's practical. If you ever hear Jeremy Clarkson talk about his least favorite car, you should YouTube or Google that. It's the funniest thing ever because he's like, anyone who thinks that, taking a car from India and all the way shipping it to Africa to get your lithium, to go back to China, to go then to Japan and then to the United States, if you think you're saving the environment, you're an absolute fool. And like,
I think he used the word idiot, but
yeah, but it's just so succinctly summed up of like, you think you're helping, but you're really not helping.
Yeah,
My point of bringing up EVs is that in order to support the current popular movement of electric vehicles, our energy grid, I mean, if you just look at the increase of refrigerators, you look at the number of things that require refrigerant. You look at how we're developing future infrastructure, even like hyperloops and rails, that's going to require more power. Mm-hmm. In order to support that level of infrastructure, our energy grid has to literally double in size in the next 12 years, Rob. This was something that I just read in Bloomberg and I think is really important. And it was also related to the fact that, and we should do an entire show on this, that China has just stopped exports of all like brushless motors, electronic speed controllers, various parts and pieces related to drones, even stopping exports of drones coming September 1st. And that can have a massive impact on us if we can't get copper from certain areas to support this infrastructure. All this, jargon to lead up to this point, which is if AI could utilize photogrammetric information to showcase the most efficient routes to upgrade and benefit the energy grid to support all these things that are growing at light speed, it seems like AI would be the absolute best solution for that. And I don't think anyone is doing that right now. I think that you could be sitting on a proverbial gold mine here, Rob, and I think it's brilliant.
But there's also, obviously, it's a double-edged sword, as these things usually are. And so back to the point you were making earlier in terms of acquisition strategies, that's more of a simplistic perspective on what we're talking about. But ultimately, it's about fundamentals when you're talking about these things. And it really is crap in, crap out. I don't care how good the machine learning is, right?
True.
Because the machine learning is not smart enough, I don't think, maybe it is, to take wrong information and say, nope, that's wrong information. Here's the right information. I suppose if there's enough right data to allow it to correct the wrong data.
That seems like a multivariate evolution of the AI.
For sure.
Because then you're telling it, okay, these photos have sky in it. We can't reproduce this. Let's crop these images, edit them, throw them back in, rerun the program. Did that work?
Yeah, and then my concern is that, and I think it's already happening with something as basic as ChatGPT, where we are putting too much reliance on these things. And I think as a societal norm, that's already starting to happen because we're freaking lazy.
Yeah.
Lazy thinkers. And I'll include myself in this. I don't want to point fingers, but I'm kind of just being dramatic to make a point that we've got to be careful to not rely on this AI too fast, too much, because how do we know that it's accurate?
And many times you don't.
Right. How do we?
You remember when ChatGPT said the market was going to crash May 15th and all it's done is go up since then? Yeah. And you remember the conversation that we had of like, what if people could be coerced to thinking that there was a market crash and thus there would be a market crash?
Like a self-fulfilling AI?
Prophecy, yeah. Well, thank God for the what do they call it when it's like hyper fast algorithmic trading? I forget the name of it. Quant trading, yeah. Thank God the quant trading actually saved us.
Which is machine learning in a sense. I mean, that's machine learning based trading, I think.
Yeah.
Or certainly it's computational based on very, very intense computers. But anyways.
But getting back to your question of can AI help us better discern the development of energy infrastructure.
Like take the fires in California, right? Same thing. Maybe they could have been predicted through AI.
If you had a bunch of drones flying all those lines and you saw that those transformers were too low to the ground and that the coronal ejection distance was too close to the ground, it could cause a fire and signal someone that, hey, we got to rebuild this as soon as possible. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. To the research you just pulled up about China restrictions of minerals to the U.S. and other places. Okay, they're restricting gallium and germanium. Do you know the most common use case of germanium, at least that I know of? There may be a more common one, but do you know a very common use of germanium that's directly impacted to this conversation that we're having right now? What is the lens of a thermal camera made of?
Oh, is it made of germanium? Is it really?
Yes. And so if we can't see heat and problem areas from energy infrastructure because we can't make enough thermal cameras to be deployed, that could be a very real problem. I don't think it'll be a problem, but it could be a very real problem. And, when it comes to AI and the development of AI and photogrammetry, I'm seeing a lot more use cases of AI-based software. Let's take, Polycam, right? They wanted to sponsor the show for a long time. We tried the software and we're like, yeah, it's cool. Not sure it's very relevant to drone pilots, but really grateful that you guys want to sponsor the show. But we don't want to we don't want you to have false expectations. So we did not do that. But Polycam uses what system or what architecture for their photogrammetric AI, and it's Apple's Objective. It's not Objective-C, it's Objective something else, like Objective Motion or something. I forget the name of it, but it's Apple's developer engine of photogrammetry. Okay, that's very cool. Apple is actively using machine learning and AI to make their reconstruction better and better. I think the real development of AI in mapping and in the drone industry is when people learn the architecture of how AI is built and how they can build programs to literally, gosh, my mind's on fire right now, to literally create new solutions that create workflow efficiencies. Okay. Example, right? DJI, they have been very Chinese, and they have made it extremely difficult for third-party apps to do mapping missions, right? Drone Deploy's app, I know it's working better now. It bricked our drone just 2 months ago. Pix40 Capture Pro, it works on the app, but it won't actually complete a mission. And due to this bifurcation of SDK programming from DJI, and DJI puts out DJI Pilot 2. And no offense, DJI, but your mapping missions are not very good compared to your competitors. But I see what you're trying to do by nixing your competitors' capacity to be utilized. Here's the thing. What if I were to develop an AI application that you completely negate DJI, you run a mapping mission, and it checks all of your photos, it checks everything that you're doing to see, do you have enough overlap? It does a tie point calculation right there. It says, you know what, you may want to go back and reshoot this in overcast weather. You might get better results if you do a quadruple orbit. You might want to do a quad grid because there's so much reflection on this roof that the reconstruction would have been better, right? That's the next evolution. That's already happening with Drone Harmony. Drone Harmony is limited, honestly, because they're trying to say, okay, your data may not be good here. Here's the flight plan to go fly it. Again, Drone Harmony is limited by DJI's SDK, okay? That said, Drone Harmony's taken it a step further, and they've said, okay, well, here's the mission that we think you need to run in order to get the best 3D model. In my experience with Drone Harmony, our drones got a little too close to some trees that weren't on a base level map that Drone Harmony was using to do programming. And then you have Drone Genuity. Sorry, I'm really going down the rabbit hole with this one. Because this has been a topic of research for me pretty much all year long since the development of AI. And I'm sure very few people know this, but I cover aviation technology and AI for KOB and KKOB down in New Mexico. I don't know how much longer that's going to last since I finally admitted that I moved from New Mexico like a year later. But I've been covering AI and tech.
Clearly, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, true. Right? Although I texted TJ and he hasn't texted me back in a month, which is...
He's jealous.
Also normal.
TJ Trout is jealous.
I will say the fly fishing is superior up here. So, hey, I mean, the San Juans go in both states. So that said, what I will say is look at that Drone Genuity, even doing part 107. That's funny.
I think my grandmother put out a part 107 class. I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, if you go to CSU, you can pay $2,700 to take it.
Oh, gosh. No,
not getting started there. But
too late.
Seriously, I mean, like, okay, let's take AI even further. AI could tell you, hey, you're missing these questions on your Part 107 test. This is the information you should be learning and really have a better understanding of in order to pass the test. I mean, the use cases of AI are endless right now. And I would say that there's a lot of opportunity for SaaS companies in the drone world to really eliminate a lot of the hiccups and workflow of getting drone missions done. It is not a seamless workflow. I think it's become more bifurcated since DJI changed their SDK. I know Skydio is working on this with their site scan and their stuff and how close that drone can fly to get images. I'm excited to see what they develop this fall because we've heard from a little birdie that there's new stuff coming out this fall. So I'm excited to see that. I think also that all this photogrammetric advancements in AI could be very limited by supply chain disruptions to domestically made drone manufacturers. I mean, we've made new partnerships in the last 2 months. Both of them sending us new drones. Can't get them until September, October. The supply chain issues are coming back to the forefront, and it's a very real issue. So software relies on hardware, and if our hardware is limited, our software solutions may be limited as well, but that provides further opportunity for AI. So to sum all this up, look, there's a lot of applications that are taking very specific, unique use cases of drone mapping and trying to provide an automated means of doing it, like Lumalabs AI and what they do with the traditional video animation tool. And I think what they've done is actually superior to what Pix4D has done and has done for 10 years now, because you can go on Lumalabs and if you just map something really cool and you throw all that data in Lumalabs and say, I would like a video animation, and you can control it just like Pix4D, but what you cannot do in Pix4D is set the aspect ratio. So if I want a vertical video for short form video or for Instagram Reels, I can do that in lumalabs.ai, but I cannot do that in the traditional video animation tools. So again, this is where, things get complicated of like, well, do I want more control to control how my data is processed in Pix4D, or do I want an easy, simple means of just saying, hey, here's this cool job we just did, and I just want to keep my clients up to date by posting it on Instagram? And I think the latter supersedes the former. And I think that's why these AI tools are being utilized at rapid scale. And I think, like you mentioned, the evolution of these tools is going to be very interesting, because if you have just one niche use of making a video animation, what if someone else says, let's make an AI that's going to generate our point cloud, generate our DSM, and here's the one. This would totally disrupt surveying in a level that I truly pray if this happens. But what's the biggest issue with drone pilots is this issue with Department of Surveying boards saying that they're surveying when they're not even laying down GCPs, and some pilots are actually doing that, and you shouldn't do that. And then some people are producing georeference maps and models for things that are not at all used in surveying, but they provide data to a client, and that data is off by hundreds of feet because they have no methodology of a third-party verification of accuracy. What if we were to create an AI that takes your point cloud, takes your ortho, takes your DSM, throws it into Global Mapper, throws it into ArcGIS, does a true absolute accuracy verification, and tells you, like, you dump your ortho and it's like, nope, your X is off by 2 feet, your Y is off by 2.4 feet, your Z is off by 12. And then for an extra fee, we can adjust it for you and all the parameters according to the Geoid 12B model. Do you wish to do that? Boom.
Bring it. That'd be awesome.
I need to go to Torchies after this.
If you do that for the entire globe.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, like conceptually, it's not that far-fetched.
It's not far-fetched at all. And it would do exactly what the surveying industry needs badly, which is rapid expansion.
Even though they don't want it.
Yeah, well, it's just a very rent-sinking ideology.
They'd rather go put the poll out, and...
You must go to school for 8 years to do basic trig.
Anyways, Gabe, it's a great question, and it's something that I think, you weekly, if not daily, you got to be looking at what the newest innovations are in AI.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge to not be overwhelmed by it, because literally there's something new every single day with this stuff.
100%.
And assimilating that is challenging.
We just did all that work to update all of our mapping guide information. We should expand it into just AI services. So,
yeah.
But Rishi, you'll be hearing from us. All right, guys. Well, hey, I hope that provides insight information, maybe tickles your brain a little bit. All right. And maybe gets you to think about how you could use AI. If there is one thing that you get out of this podcast, you can go on to Google's Training Academy and go learn how they built BARD and how natural language processing and ML networks work together, or neural networks work together to actually produce AI. Honestly, your kid is about to enter the CSU program, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She could go take this course at Google, get Google certified in AI, and go make $200,000 a year right now, or spend 200 grand of your money going to school in the traditional system. Maybe get some of this information. Maybe during that time it already becomes outdated and she's still looking for a job that pays her 1/4 of that 4 years later. That's the world we're living in.
Yeah.
Drones are the same. Anyway, so check out Google's system. I'm going to be going through it myself. I got offered to take the ML course from MIT because I finished those MIT courses. And when I realized it was based on Google's information, I'm like, I'm not paying MIT $5,000 for another graduate course. I'm just going to do it for free at Google.
Yeah, gosh. In terms of learning this stuff, that's actually a really great point. And maybe let's end with this because this got really long. But there are top universities, and I'm talking Stanford level universities, that you can go take free courses on this stuff. Go there first.
Seriously.
Right? I mean, there's so much information on there. And Stanford's just one example. There's tons of them that you can go learn the stuff
I think
on.
the cracks in the university system are starting to show too. If you look at enrollment numbers, they're down since COVID.
Totally. And I mean, I've been having a lot of these discussions with my son, Jacob, as he kind of decides what he wants his degree to be in. And he's doing it while in the Marines. And so it's all paid for, which is really nice. But you still want to be thoughtful about the degree that you get, right? And so we've been having discussions about this. But the reality is there are some things that if you want to do them, you have to go get a degree. That's just the way it is. I don't know, like being a teacher. They don't hire teachers if you don't have a degree. Maybe that might change, and you could argue that it'll change. And Paul's going to argue anything I say right now about this particular point. But that's the reality, and you all know it. Could it change? Of course it could change. Could you be that one person that could convince the principal to hire you? I suppose that's possible, but it's very unlikely. So there are some things that you need a degree. You're not going to go be a doctor without a degree. It's not going to happen. Unless you, I don't know if there's a place in the world where you could do that, but
there is. It's here in Colorado. There's a doctor just in Longmont, FYI, who uses frequency wave generation to kill cancer by literally putting people in a machine and hitting a certain hertz rate that has been scientifically proven to kill cancer cells. So I mean,
so there's an exception to every rule.
There is.
To every
but
rule.
Your point is actually really good. And then the question becomes of when do we prioritize experience, knowledge, and true intellectual curiosity versus a piece of paper that is seemingly losing more and more and more value?
Now we're getting all philosophical. They're not mutually exclusive. You can have a degree and still pursue all of those things, true. Right?
Which is the best.
They're not combative. Unless we make them combative, they're not. So
that's a really powerful point because that's the best of the best worlds, because then you fit the mold, but you're also putting yourself in a position of superiority by fitting the mold and then going out and doing these extra things that other people don't think of.
Correct. I want us to remain objective as a people, as a society. And there's too much damn Ford, Chevy sucks. It doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to be that there's the best and the worst.
They both make good vehicles. You might have your favorite for whatever dumb reason you have.
EcoBoost.
That's actually a good reason. But whatever dumb reason you have. But don't be that person, man. Be objective, and you're going to be better off for it. Just those closed-minded, mutually exclusively thinking. I want to end on a positive note.
Oh, this is positive. This is great. This is a
learn, get better.
I think it's actually a very important point because I've fallen prey to the best worst ideology, and everything is a sliding scale. And I used to argue that all the time, and I lost sight of that.
Our world is a series of concentric circles. Period. Right? We don't have a lot
period.
of. Yeah. Anyways. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, I like it. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get with Rob.
So be prepared. Be objective. Be learned. Be a reader.
Gabe loved the question. Loved. Can't wait to see you in our next meeting.
This has been fun, and it's the only podcast we're doing today.
Well, Rob, it was worth it. So
if you stuck with us this long, kudos to you. Thank you. Please leave us a review. Please send in your question. We need to hear from you. AskDroneU.com. We want to know what's on your mind. And if you're willing to kind of start our rant with your question, we would appreciate it.
100%. And everyone, thank you so much for asking those questions. AskDroneU.com. Join us for an in-person training, a training you'll never forget that has true systems based off of experience you will not find anywhere else. Look, you can go many places and get a driver's license. And just like a driver's license, there are many places that you can go to get your Part 107. But like a driver's license, that's not going to make you a good pilot. You need the tips and tricks proven from experience, over a decade of experience, to know how every single flight is going to be safe and how to have the confidence to go get the jobs that are truly fulfilling to you, that drive your purpose, that drive your fun, that drive your passion. Turn your passion into profit at thedroneu.com.